Class is in session. The professor is in. What's happening, y'all? I wanted to make another video about the faction boss that's coming up this midweek. I wanted to go over what I called the bargain bin wrestlers, those that you can use that aren't going to be from the top three that I had in my previous video, and I put the link to that video in the description. But these are ones that you can use that you can find a little bit of success with. But I want you to temper your expectations, and I'll explain why a little bit later. But in this video, we're going to go over what the boss battle is now and how that's different from what it was before. Your strategy to winning this boss battle, it means boss breakers. We're going to go over why the boss breakers are so important. And then lastly, we'll go over the bargain bin. So superstars that you can use that you might be able to help out those that are going to carry you. So let's get to it. So we need to have an honest discussion about the boss battle in general. This mode of game has changed since it first came out. If you remember, it was very easy to max out the boss battle. It would take you less than an hour. You get a couple of Kevin Owens together and they would just blast on through it and it would be all done. And while it's nice not having to play the game for hours and hours, that wasn't sustainable, right? That wasn't how Scopely designed this. They designed this to be a challenge, for it to last multiple turns, and for the boss breakers to be something of a huge deal when playing this game. So this is where we are now with the faction boss. They have tweaked it over and over again to find the right balance, of which things like the gem generation, as well as how much damage is going to be made, is going to be tweaked, as also finding the balance between how much damage the boss should do and how much the shield and how many turns it should last, how many gems it should have, how much the increase should be for multiplied gems, the freeze, and everything that we've seen so far has been tweaked along those lines. What this means, though, is that this boss battle and every boss battle that is coming up afterwards, we as a community need to have a better understanding of what's happening. And that's this. There are only going to be 2 or 3 posters that will do enough damage to try to win on turn 1, and usually turn 2 or turn 3. The likelihood of winning on turn 1 at level 20 is going to be limited to 1 superstar pretty much. So going forward, you're going to have to find a way to win over multiple turns. Okay? That's the reality of the boss battle right now. So that's why this move is only 800%, or 8 times the amount of yellow damage, and not 8,000 like it was in the past. And 14 multiplied gems is a lot, but it's not that. It's not going to do the 700 or 800 million gem damage that you're going to need it to do. So we need to be realistic about what this boss battle actually is and what we have to do then in order to win, which is win over multiple turns. So to win over multiple turns means one thing very simply. You need boss breakers. There's no way around it. You have to have max level boss breakers. You need to be buying that currency in the game store, and you need to be buying it yesterday. It is so important now because you're going to have to go 3 or 4 turns with a boss that is going to do 3 plus million damage. So it's going to knock out all your 5-star golds after turn 1. So at level 20, you need 6-star superstars that are going to have, if not level 8, level 9 or level 10 boss breakers with which to stay alive multiple turns in order to break shields and to win and do enough damage over that period of time. So if you don't have the best superstar for your boss battle, and that includes, in this time, it's probably going to be Shinsuke Nakamura, the Showboat version, who's probably going to do somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5 million damage per cycle. You're just gonna have to bring something to the table that's going to work, right? So each one of these groups has something that is going to work each boss battle. So you're going to have to bring boss breakers that are going to do the damage. So Regeneration X is the one you're going to need at this one, so that way you and your faction mates. So if you don't have Shinsuke, you're going to need, if you're bringing in a focused player, you're going to need something that's going to help. So with the plus MP boss ability that he has, adding 10 MP for each move, you're going to need to make more MP on a turn-by-turn basis, and that's what Regeneration X is going to do. And so getting this off every turn is going to be key. So if you're at level 10, you're going to get this off, I believe, every 45 seconds. If you're using Chaotic, Chaotic no longer has Neutralize as something worthwhile anymore. It's just not something worthwhile, because it is been something complete. The Neutralize in itself has been neutralized, as everybody else has said before me. So since he's not healing himself, its time is what you're going to be using for this boss battle. And the cooldown, I believe, is 100 seconds. So you're not going to get it off until turn 2, but you're going to extend turns, meaning you're going to break shields and add more damage to the list. So you need something like that in order to keep moves going and to keep damage rolling. And so you can do that every second turn after the shield has been broken. And the bottom two are actually going to be the most important, I think, in terms of where you can be helpful to the rest of your team. And in terms of the powerhouse, no, I have powerhouse, but in terms of aggressive, it's exhaust. And you can see I have maxed my exhaust off. While cracking the shield is good for bosses that have shields, it's only doing a certain percentage of damage for a certain number of turns to the boss. But exhaust, if you get 2 level 10 exhausts, then they are going to go off before the end of turn 1. Your cooldown is going to be 45 seconds, so it's basically going to go off every turn, and it's going to reduce the damage by 50%, which means if there are 2 of you who have this, that means you're taking 0 damage. You're taking 0 damage. And that is a big deal in a mode of gameplay that now requires you to win over multiple turns. So if everybody stays healthy and nobody dies, that means you can carry 5-star golds if there are 2 neutralizes on in your team. Otherwise, you need 6-star superstars just for the health boost to stay alive for multiple turns. And last but not least, if you're going in with the defensive, I've said this before elsewhere, the defensive that you need is somebody who's got the helping hand. And when you get it to level 10, like I've got mine here, it's going to heal all the teammates by 30% of the player's max hit points. So on every turn, they're going to be healed for 30%. And this goes off every 45 seconds. So the moment turn 2 starts and you've taken damage, if you don't have any exhaust on there, you just start healing your team and you just heal. And Chad Gable, my example here, who I brought up, is not the best for boss battles anymore. But this heal allows me to be useful to my team, even if I'm not creating a lot of damage on the other end. So again, this comes back to what I said before about how this boss battle and all boss battles aren't the previous boss battles that we have. You need to bring something to the table. So if you don't have the best player, you need to have the best boss breakers. So now let's get to the characters that are going to be useful but not the best for this boss battle. And I've labeled this the bargain bin or the bargain basement bin. So these are superstars that you can use who will either break the shield, do somewhere in the 20 to 80 to 150 maybe million damage on each turn. But they're not going to be the main drivers, right? So they're not going to be the Shinsuke Nakamura's or the Hall of Fame Macho Man, the ones that I had outlined in my previous video, which were going to be the big hitters, right? So I'll go over a few in each category. Guys who will do a lot of damage or break a lot of gems, and will at least make you feel like you did something. So First off, in the focused, very few are going to be like myself. I know that Davey D and Furbo also have themselves a 6-star Brutus, and I want to thank Davey D because he picked me randomly to get a 6-star on his stream when he showed it off. But in terms of if you have him at this height, at this level, he's going to create yellow gems. He's going to heal himself. So that's one option of someone to use. But more likely, I had mentioned this in the previous video as well, someone like Rey Mysterio, Masters of the Universe, he's going to be someone who you can use to create heal gems, but he also is going to create... he also has the spring body crossboard here, so somebody who can create juggernaut gems that will increase all of your gem damage for each swipe. He also has a choose move to choose yellow, so you have options with him to at least be useful and to keep yourself alive. He's going to heal himself, but it's not going to be enough. The higher up you get, the heal that he is going to, you're going to need someone with an actual helping hand, boss breaker. In terms of other focused that you can use, if you have Santa Hogan and you have him up high enough, you can use his moves as well. Drew has himself snowfall gems, I believe, that you can use. If you have a plate on Otis, you can just keep spamming that single move, the green move that keeps spamming the board. So there are options to make yellow gems, at least help with the shield, but none of them are going to do anywhere near the damage that this guy right here is going to do. So those are the you can find in the bin in terms of the focused. When it comes to someone like KO, whom a lot of people are going to use this boss battle because they've brought him up to 5-star or to 6-star. KO can do a lot of damage. It's not so much going to be turn 1 that he's going to do the majority of his damage because of everything that stacks. But what you can do with KO, since I know a lot of people are probably going to ask or wonder about this, is that if you do put on the Titan and you do get a bunch of Fury 2s lined up over here, and you can do a ton of damage that way with him, with this type of a setup. So either making the random blast gems with the 2 juggernauts, or, which is probably more likely and what I would suggest, is putting on the sub. And so that way the sub is going to make 12 random gems into yellow, and as long as enough of them stay on the board, the blast gems that come afterwards, the weird thing is that in this mode, the boss battle mode, and in no other mode, that will trigger the Titan plate. But if you did like I did a few boss battles ago and put the boss plate on, then that will just blow up the board as well too. So there's options there with KO, and this is the thing with KO, right? He's going to stack 127% for 3 turns every time you get these out. So you're going to want to get out these yellow traps and blow them up as much as possible and use the sub to help break the shield. But he's not the only one in the basement, in the bargain bin. I had detailed in the last one that you can use the king. Just try not to leave any reinforced gems out there, so use the setup without the reinforced gems. And another really good one is probably going to be Seth as well too. So Seth is going to work really well, also stacking. And I think that's a really important point to make, is that if you don't have somebody who's going to make a lot of gems, at least have somebody whose moves are going to stack as well too, who's going to stack damage on top of each other. That's why I like KO, but you can do the same with Seth, and you can even put a Titan plate on Seth too to make that happen. And another that would be in that same vein, making a lot that some people have actually gotten recently, is actually not on the list when you click yellow, but if you go outside of the yellow, someone that might actually work and do a lot of good damage is actually Veer. depending on which plates you have for him. But somebody who makes a lot of yellow cross breaks blows up the board, so that could be a possibility as well. And if we continue on our search, one that I had mentioned before was Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio has an interesting build, so you can either just go for straight damage to go as fast as you can and use the triple black, similar to how you would do it in Feud, or you can try to actually maybe do a tricolor build. And I want to thank Merrick's for suggesting this, that if you wanted to try to get the Moonsault Juggernaut gems out quicker, you can try to get that out once or twice, and it's going to be hard to do so, but his gems, his multiplied gems, are going to be huge for this boss battle. So that's one thing that you might be able to work on, right, is getting these multiplied gems out and getting a ton of them working. The other thing that you could do, rather than put the multiplied, or I don't want to equip that one, rather than doing the blue move, is just try to get the black moves out as quickly as possible, and then get the juggernauts out when you can, and just keep trying to blow up the board. So you can also run this to double black and red setup, but he's going to be your exhaust guy, especially if you have him pretty high. Other characters you can use, Lex is going to be a good character in terms of making yellow, although it's going to be choose yellow, and choose characters take up and eat up a lot of time, so it's always better to use guys that aren't choose guys. Zombie Lashley is going to do probably about 30 to 40 million each time you can run through. Just make sure that you don't keep any of his reinforced gems on the board. I believe you also have a choose yellow move in here too, so most, if not all of us, should have Batista already. So 4x1 into yellow gems. Where is it? 4x4 into yellow gems. So nothing that's going to do a ton of damage, but will help break the shield. So if that's something that you're looking to help with, that would be someone that I would suggest. Captain Lou, I had mentioned, is going to be one of the better ones for this, but he is indeed extremely rare. Bulldog's going to be a really good one for this as well too, especially if you have the right plates. His plate or the Veer plate, but he's going to have this nice move right here that is going to create yellows with the Snowfall gems. So he would be another interesting one to play, making yellow gems, cross-break gems. So Bulldog would be a really good play here as well too, at least to help break the board and do some damage. Another in the bargain bin basement, and I don't think it's in that one, I think it's in the actual other one. So someone like Andrade, who has a lot of low charge moves, makes yellows and multiplies, destroys them. Again, not making a ton of them, so he's not going to make a ton of damage. Zombie Taker, somebody with a Titan plate who's going to continually amp up his moves and stack them, would also be a good part in this. Not the great one. I wanted Memrock. Wherever Memrock is, would also be probably another really good play that we're not really talking about. Definitely Darren Young. Everybody take up your Darren Young and do it absolutely tomorrow. But Memrock might be a good addition to this. I like K-Quick. The problem with him is that most of his moves are choose moves, but he does have yellows and he does have multiplies. So while I don't suggest taking him up, but unless you've already taken him up, he would be someone that you can use in that slot. So are The Miz. You can also use someone like Sami Zayn, who who makes 14 at least on good boards. You can also maybe use Showstopper. Does he makes him mobile, makes them into yellow. So if you have Showstopper up, he's someone else who can make yellow. He does, if you have him up to 6-star, he does have yellow gem damage stack as well too. But as you can see, none of these are going to be the game changers in that sense. So that's why the boss breakers are going to be so important for getting this done. Carrion Cross was suggested to me as someone who could do some damage as well. His submission makes the multiply gems, and then choose to destroy. It's got the Juggernaut, multiplies go up again. The problem is just having the yellow gems to do the damage. So you can see that the overall problem is the same. And for me, it's Chad Gable. He's going to choose yellow, but he's not going to be the best for putting this all together. One that I didn't discuss and couldn't find because I'm exhausted and I have twin kids is Zombie HBK, another character who's going to make that mid-level damage. So those are all the characters that I would put in the bargain basement bin that you could possibly use. For some reason, this man is still here. Bye, Darren Young. Don't ever come back. So the problem that you will have is high expectations, that if your character is going to go into this boss battle and you believing that they are going to do hundreds of millions of damage, when in reality that's only going to be for 2 or 3 that I've already outlined in my previous video. So what you need to do is, and to recap, you need to lower your expectations, get your boss breakers on, and load up on characters who are going to break the shield and to help and do as much damage as they possibly can. But in this way, you are at least helping to win in as few turns as possible. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Please like, share, subscribe. That kind of stuff really helps me out. And if I missed anybody again in this second run through for the boss battle, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. And hopefully I will see you the next time the class is in session. The Brofessor is out.